Alright, Geordie Prepper here. Welcome to another Prepper News Network video. Today is the 16th of February 2024. Firstly, we're looking at Zelensky. He's doing the rounds in Europe. Very recently visited America, I believe, and now he's doing his rounds in Europe. He's just basically trying to drum up funds to support the war. He's going to be signing agreements, security agreements, bilateral agreements with Germany. So basically just saying anyone attacks Germany, Ukraine will come to their aid. Anyone's attacking Ukraine, Germany's going to come to their aid. He's also going to be doing this with France. And it seems like Paris is basically taking up a lot of the slack with a lot of delays to funding and other bills that aren't getting passed in America right now. So we're seeing quite a bit of talk on that front, how the Paris agreements are basically going to make up for these agreements from the United States and the funding from the United States being slightly delayed. But, you know, as we can see, he's out and about. Been reports of rifts between Paris and Berlin over support to the Ukraine. So potentially, you know, Zelensky is just going to try and bridge that gap between them and just say, look, it's in your own interests to support the Ukraine. And obviously that plays into the fear which is going around that, you know, Russia's not going to stop at the Ukraine. It's going to head out and branch out. Even though Putin himself has basically said that he's got no interest in doing that. So Russia's been hammering Ukraine, really, to be honest. They've been doing a lot of damage to particular industries, and there's been a lot of casualties on the Ukrainian side. They've not only repelled Ukrainian attacks, but they've also been just increasing their airstrikes and drone strikes in a combined strike which was using airborne and seaborne missiles and weapons. They basically attacked military industrial complexes, going after their support mechanisms which help to fuel supply and make weapons which are used on the front lines. So depleting Ukrainians' manpower. I mean, this is basically completely obvious at this point. Ukraine just doesn't have the manpower. Not only are they losing a lot of troops per day, for instance, this day in Krasny Liman, they lost 305 troops, 15 armoured vehicles. They're just losing a lot of men and equipment right now. And obviously this article is from TASS, one of Russia's main news agencies, but this is being reported across a multitude of news agencies. There's absolutely no denying it at this point that the Ukraine is losing a lot of manpower. At the minute, they're also losing ground. So this conflict's far from over, but eventually Ukraine's going to run out of manpower for sure. And, you know, it's possible due to the loss of manpower, is basically just going to make NATO put its troops in the way. And obviously if NATO starts to put its troops in the Ukraine, especially on the front lines, Russia's absolutely not going to stand for that at all. The point of the matter is just to keep an eye on this situation, and in particular, keep an eye on what NATO does. So there was quite a sizable earthquake in Southern California, and it happened on the anniversary of the 1971 San Fernando quake. The quake struck at nearly 2 p.m, quite shallow depth, 13 kilometers. And the area that it hit was in the Santa Monica Mountains. See here on the map here. That was basically the epicenter. They definitely would have been widely felt. Like I said, you know, it happened on the anniversary of the 1971 earthquake, which was also known as the Selma earthquake. And that actually killed 64 people. Caused $500 million worth of damage. So obviously, you know, this area is prone to earthquakes. If you want to know more about earthquakes, I would really highly suggest you check out Dutch Sins. So I'll link his channel either in the description or on a little card that shows up on the screen now. So obviously the thing that's been in the news recently in the headlines is this Russian weapon, which supposedly is nuclear capable or has nuclear warheads on it, which can be deployed into Earth orbit. Now, whether this sort of thing actually exists, whether they're actually working on it, we'll never really know the true weaponry that either side has and what they have deployed in space, what they don't. I mean, the United States has that little reusable entry vehicle, looks like a mini space shuttle. I mean, who knows what that thing does or what it's got on it. And also, a thing to note is that both sides have been putting up nuclear material into orbit anyways over the years. It's obviously been used more to power satellites. And, you know, America put an experimental nuclear reactor in space, I think as far back as 1965. And Russia's put up about 30 odd satellites that use some sort of nuclear material or fission or another means to power their satellites. So, I mean, potentially the Earth's surrounded by dozens of dirty nuclear bombs, essentially. You know, dirty bombs. So, who knows what either side has up there, but there was a treaty where they basically are both signatories where they agreed that nuclear weapons have no place in space. I'm assuming that they have other types of things up there to shut down each side's satellites. You know, this is basically what a lot of people are saying is a front, which will basically drum up a reaction to fund the Ukraine. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that this is completely made up. They've done it before. Obviously, the United States is saying that they do have this plan. Russia's saying that they have no intention of doing it. So who do you believe? Well, to be honest, my advice would be to preppers is let's just keep our feet on the ground, yeah? Let's just deal what's in our locality. Let's just deal what's surrounding us. That we can just, with good intelligence, that we can make good actionable decisions on. You know, just prepare for what you can deal with on Earth first. Before we start preparing for any sort of space scoped challenges. You know, let's just keep our heads on things that we can see and hear, and keep our ears to the ground. And we've got Check Your Preps month coming up next month, so I would suggest that's a good time to just dial down your preps. Let's just bring the preparedness bubble closer to ourselves and, you know, who we look after immediately. So, United States intercepted a ship and it was loaded with weapons headed to Yemen. So this was obviously intended for the Houthis, to help arm the Houthis. Supposedly a lot of the weapons were quite advanced. This would give credence to the claims that Iran is supporting the Houthis. So yeah, there was more than 200 packages containing missiles, missile components, explosives and drones. And it was seized by the US Coast Guard from a vessel in the Arabian Sea. So obviously the United States has issued a warning to them, you know, just saying, we're going to intercept all your weapon shipments and it's going to diminish your ability to conduct attacks in the Red Sea. These groups have support in the region. The United States is basically just doing the best, and US allies will be doing their part as well, just to intercept these shipments to help secure ships' transit in the Red Sea. So the whole China-Taiwan thing seems to have taken quite a bit of a back burner recently. But footage has been taken of China confronting a Filipino ship. And the Philippines are obviously an ally of the United States. They have been for a very, very long time. Chinese boat intercepted this Filipino boat, told them to bog off. The Philippines are basically just saying that it's still patrolling in the area. I mean, if this image is correct of the ships, which one looks more intimidating? I mean, I think the Chinese one definitely looks more formidable. Probably got lots of armaments on board. Just from this image, you know, the actual ships. I mean, that looks like a forward gun battery on that Chinese ship. I mean, the Chinese aren't playing around. Between Israel and Lebanon, things are heating up. they've both got a huge amount of military assets along that border now. And we're seeing here now that residents in Lebanon are starting to be affected. They've effectively moved away from the border. Escalating hostilities have basically started to displace people in Lebanon. I'm sure the same thing's happening on the Israeli side as well. The people are obviously probably moving away, even if it's just to a relative's house, while this tension is going on. And lastly, we're looking at some British weather. The Met Office has issued a yellow warning, practically for the entirety of England and Wales. Looks like it's going to be a washout this weekend, and quite a bit of flooding feared. There was those storms recently, so a lot of this area probably hasn't recovered from the previous storms. The water's probably still saturating the ground there, so the worst of the weekend's downpours will be on Saturday and Sunday, and the weather warning's in place from 3 p.m. on Saturday to 6 p.m. on Sunday, so that's quite a significant amount of time. Obviously, this is just quite a predictable thing that you can prepare against, because there's always going to be weather of some kind wherever you are. That's the end of today's Prepper News. Thanks very much for watching. Be safe, be prepared, and I'll see you in the next broadcast. This has been Geordie Prepper, signing out.